Welcome to Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions on Wolf Spirit Radio, Ever Beyond Radio, and Studio 9 Jam on YouTube. With your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, featuring JP as the voice of Andronicus. Please visit www.readingsbyrael.com, that's ARAEL.
From the future, by way of the past. I'm on my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio. Good evening and good morning and good afternoon. We're just going to pick up Jessica. She just finished the final transmission. There you are. Welcome to your show.
Here I am. Oh, hello everyone.
You're on the air on your show.
I am on the air, yeah. Well,
Hi,
thank you for joining us. I'll tell you what, they've been doing this to me. They start talking to me right up into the end of the show. So people think, I'm thinking about this, what's going to come up. I have no idea. And they connect with me whenever they're ready. Fortunately, if you're wondering who this is, the first time listening to the show, this is my clan. This is the group that connects with me. And in particular, it's been for a while that it's been Rhodan, Andronicus, who the show is named after, and Meetis. So, anyhow, yeah, so not only was I getting messages, but they kept on bringing up music, and Andronicus gave me a song too that he wanted to bring on. I think I was trying to see if Chaz would join us and give us an update about Andronicus, since we have the private face group. It's a private group, but you can join it, and we welcome everyone to join. And also, we got together as a Zoom room, in the Zoom room, and got to meet each other face to face, which was so much fun. I enjoyed it so much. I mean, it was great to put the name and the face and the voice together, and really, really wonderful people. Meetis seems to be very pleased. A lot has come up regarding that, and as someone that's joined our group, I was hoping to get Chaz to join us, as well as Nick, who will be joining us in the second hour to talk a little bit about some of these things and some of the things that he's discovered regarding. I'm just letting him have free rein this week. He's quite an interesting individual, and other than being a tea drinker like all three of us, right, JP?
Oh, yes. Well, actually, to be honest, it's my confession time today. I have 2 cups of tea and a cup of coffee.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I'm having the coffee early. Normally I have it just before Sean's show so I can kind of keep up with his brain. But I think I need an extra kind of kick just to get across the Atlantic.
Well, there's storms over here, and I'm grateful that everything's working out well as we're doing these transmissions. And you're drinking your builder's tea today?
Oh yes, I've got builder's tea and latte coffee. So yes, one's strong, one's weak, but it's good stuff.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, so Ches can join us, but I thought, well, maybe why don't we have her join us? I don't know if you need her information.
Let me just
connect with her. Let's see if we can get that in.
Right. Okay, well, cover the air for the minute, and I'll bring Ches on. There you go.
All right. So bringing her in.
Yep.
And just to give us an update about what's going on, she seems to have a handle on.
There we are. She's got a million things going on. Let's wait for Gerald to turn all these things off.
I'm sorry. I didn't realise. I didn't expect that. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Spontaneous. Yes.
Sorry. I had all this equipment. I've even got my crafts laid out everywhere, and I've got stuff spread out, and I just had to get organized.
We won't keep you on for too long. Just to give us a general update of what's been going on, and kind of giving us an update of Andronicus.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we've had a lot of response, a lot of people chatting and talking and excited, and we've been researching some history and posting pictures, and it's been interesting. People have been putting pieces together. Some people have had different insights, and it's been exciting. We're thinking about doing a chat for the group, and these are projects in progress. And also, we were discussing maybe a tartan and a crest and things like that. That's for everybody to decide. You know, it's a co-creative here, so you know, everybody to do their own designs and everything. It'd be good to put use for images and things like that. You know, when we're doing documents, and Anthea is working on a document, making a list of all the different people and places and where they all fit, and JP suggested a mind map, which I'm working on at the moment, and I'm going to set it into an image. So there's lots of things going on, and we'll probably arrange another Zoom. Maybe we're thinking about doing it once a month, aren't we, Jessica? Maybe just see how things go.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea, and if everyone's agreeable to that, I mean, here again, this is for everyone, not just for me. I would love it. I would think it'd be fantastic. And you know, just so we can connect. Each time we connect, I have a feeling that more things will be revealed, and you guys have done a tremendous job in researching. So we knew it was Staffordshire. Staffordshire, is that how you say it?
Hang on a second, Staffordshire. Yeah. Yes, it's not Shire. It's a short I, Staffordshire.
Okay, I know I should pronounce it correctly.
It's the way Americans always say Shire. You always say Shire instead of Shire, but you know, it's just a local thing.
It's a Lord of the Rings thing, I think, as well, isn't it?
Oh yes, of course.
Shire, they say Shire, so that's probably where they got it.
That's probably where we get it. Yeah.
So yeah, there's 38 members, by the way, now, so it's creeping on up there. And have I got the? I'm just thinking that it's facebook.com/groups/Andronicus Transmissions if you want to join the group. There's also a website, Jessica, in there, and a Facebook page as well if anybody wants to look at. I haven't got the address at hand for those, so. I don't know if you've got them, the details for that, but, yeah, and it's all coming together and everybody's getting to know one another. And at the Zoom call, like you said, it was nice to put names to faces. Now we need to put Facebook names to chat room names. I think that's where it's getting a little complicated.
That part's getting confusing, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get it together eventually. It's a work in progress, and like you say, more and more people are you know, realizing where they fit, and it's a fun thing. It's really good.
Yeah, well, we actually got out maps. We started looking at the lay of the land, and the whole issue about the Friar was resolved. So the Friar is actually going to be on the second hour of our show. This is Nick. And you kind of get a feeling for why Meetis was really interested in having the Shire connect with everyone. And it's very, very, very interesting how things are coming together. I'm getting very excited about it. It's a very happy thing. And you'll hear the message from Meetis today. He doesn't have a song for JP, but he recommended a couple songs to play. So that should be fun.
Excellent.
And so we'll keep everyone posted. Thank you so much, Chaz, for joining us and just giving us an update. And we'll try to do that weekly if we can, or every couple weeks, whatever is necessary.
No problem at all. I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So, JP?
Yes, my dear.
Hello. I was wondering, Andronicus gave me this song that I just posted there.
Yeah, we want that now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for some places it's raining, some places it's snowing. I think this is relative. You'll see why he wanted to play it. So why don't we play that for Andronicus? I wonder if, well, no, let's read what he had to say and then we'll play it. How about that?
Well, just give me a second. I've got to transfer it from one computer to another, and I have to use my brain to do that, and I can't read and do that at exactly the same time.
I can keep on talking.
You can in a second. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, there's so many different things that are happening on the planet right now, and it seems like we're at this pivotal place. And I'm not surprised that when I talked to Andronicus that I kept on feeling I'm in this looping experience. And I don't know what it is. Like, all right, I've been there, tried, I thought I corrected that wasn't fixed. And so as they have me do this kind of traveling through space and time and finding myself in different locations and working through things and then, returning back. And I kept on saying I got this odd looping feeling, and then now it appears that through Andronicus, he's been pulling me through his loop. So, and I was so frustrated over it too. Really, really frustrated. Because I know I've been here before. I know I worked on this. What's the problem here? And it was another problem, but it was in the same circumstance. So,
did you find that it was more straightforward to fix it though, the second time?
No. It just felt like I had a sense of frustration, and I think he was holding me in this loop because he wanted to stay in the loop and wanted to be able to revisit those places.
Oh, so he just kind of tagged you in, sort of soldered you into the place so that you could get a handle on it.
All right, so here's the bigger issue. I don't know if he did that with everyone. Only I was aware of it, which could be that whole weird anomalies that we're talking about, the deja vu. It could be the whole Mandela effect. It could have been all of that stuff.
So what do you think?
I'm thinking there's a high possibility. I haven't asked him yet. But I know that Viking wanted to talk about the Mandela effect. And to me, this may bring in an inclination of why some of that stuff was happening is we were caught in some kind of loop that kept getting revisited.
Not even a Groundhog Day where things got better all the time.
Yes, the Groundhog Day, all of that, yes.
So, sorry, I'm a bit distracted. There's a zillion things. People are sending me messages, even though I keep saying, I'm on air, please leave me alone. That's like,
I know that. It's been like that for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. Being very,
There's
very
so many different things happening at once, aren't they?
Mm.
And I've never been so busy, like mentally, so busy in my life from different people contacting me throughout the day.
Mm. And, yeah, it's just, it's just like there's not one, it used to be that, you'd see somebody, you'd put the phone down on them, you could then go and make a cup of tea, sit down, read a book, go to the bathroom, whatever. Now, the last person is going out of the door and then the phone rings for the next thing. It's like that. There's no time to breathe between each of these different events. And it reminds me a little way of how TV adverts used to be. Do you remember in the old days you watch the TV show and then they would freeze frame it, and then you'd go into the commercials, and between each commercial there was a freeze frame or a black, it went fade to black. But now they just cut, and it's almost like it's part of the same show. You know what I mean? We have very little breathing space.
Yeah. There's an endless, and I'm going through it in a different way, but yes, it's like an endless stream of activity, and they all are starting to merge together as one. This is why I'm wondering, did Andronicus have something to do with this?
Oh. Well, possibly. Cliff High has been blaming the D-wave quantum computers for the Mandela effect, but you never know.
Go a little deeper and discover, that there's more.
Yeah, and well, Andronicus might be responsible for D-wave computers. That's the thing. He's probably involved somewhere along the line.
Yeah. I don't know. Explain to us what the D-wave computer is, and I can tell you what I understand.
Okay, it's called a quantum computer, and all right. Now I'm not. It's beyond because I use digital computers that are 0 and 1. Okay, but quantum computers have maybe 0. They have 0, 1, and maybe one or the other. They've got 3 states, and it's in that third state that they say it tunnels through dimensions. And instead of going through a whole load of processing, it's a bit like lucky guessing. But I think in tunneling this thing, it's the lucky guess is, I don't know what it's doing. It might even be influencing reality, and I think that's what Cliff's premise is.
Yeah, I think behind everything there is an intelligence. It's beyond just an AI type of anomaly. I think beyond the AI is a mastermind or something, and whether they regard themselves as a mastermind or an experience that is tagging along is creating repercussions of other realities. So Andronicus is very not deliberately haphazard, but is a journeyman. So jumping through different things is normal for him. But if he's doing it experimenting, if he's doing it trying to correct something or fix, or it's like the effect of time travelers going in and changing and altering history, but he's not in the category of a human. He's an Andromedan, or even precedes the Andromedan culture in essence. So whatever he's doing is potentially creating these weird ripples, but he sort of indicated that's what he's doing, and then made me think that was the after effect of it.
Yeah.
It's possible. I'm not sure.
Well, causality and the whole time matrix. Can I just suggest something? I can hear this sound, and it's...
Let's get rid of that sound.
Yeah, down in the bottom of your chat room.
Yeah.
On the bottom right-hand corner. If anybody else is being annoyed by that sound, it's the default sound. I tried to turn it off when I set the room up. But basically you go down and you click the little speaker icon that is next to the number, which is currently running at 58, which is a lovely day. I remember when there were 3 or 4 in that number. So.
Yeah.
The days are good. It's lovely to see you.
The days are very good. And also I want to say that, your friend Martin, who, had offered, I don't know if he's able to, but he had offered to, isolate the transmissions for people to just kind of go through them and not hear all the extra conversations.
Oh, right. Someone's going to edit it all together.
Yeah, I think it's
or just clip them up. Right.
Yeah, I need to, just check in with him. But I let me tell you something. I am so grateful of the people that are stepping up, trying to help me to pull this stuff together, because it's like they have a vice grip on my head.
But you got a headache.
No, it doesn't hurt my head, but it's like they're holding me in a space where I have to be open for them to channel through this information, which is preventing me from being productive and actually putting it together in a book or doing other things with it or creating a group like Ches coming forward and helping. And I think it's Anthea who is going to put together all the information of the bios of who people are from that lifetime with Meetis. People just offering to help out. Don't think you're stepping on any toes. Just communicate with me, and if you really feel led to participate in this and help further bring this information out. I mean, just because I'm the channel doesn't mean I own it, to the degree where I feel like it belongs to the planet, and if a person feels in their heart they want to, come in and participate and, at least, just check in with me and tell me what you're doing and it's fine, so I'm grateful everyone's here and, as a part of the community, but I just want to mention that, just a point of gratitude to everyone, including you, JP, for being a part of this and sharing all of your many talents as well.
Well, here's the thing. When I gathered my own transmissions, my crown-based transmissions, I call it, I created a database that could take multiple Word documents and organize them into a data structure that can be searched and cross-related and all this stuff. It didn't take much modification to make it work for the Andronicus transmissions. So, it basically, I put all the transmissions into a folder and I throw the database at that folder and it'll read, theoretically, it'll read all of these things into a database, which can then be reformatted or, extracted. So you could say, you could extract them by date, or you could extract them by person. So, you could have like the book of Meetis with all of Meetis's communications in them in one block. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would be a way to organize a book out of the material by putting it into this database. You can cut it different ways and have different extractions. Maybe put it all on the single website.
Yeah, that's another project if someone wanted to collect all the songs of Meetis that you sang.
Oh, the songs of Meetis as well.
that you created, that he wrote and that you performed.
Yeah. So we
co-wrote.
Cool, so,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and then of course some of the recommended songs of Meetis, which we're getting today, and also the Andronicus one. So you'll hear it. All the songs that we're going to be playing today were recommended. I heard them in my head while they were talking to me and asked me to play them. So I imagine they influenced the writing of those songs.
One of the songs is exactly 3 minutes and 33 seconds long.
Oh, which one was that?
That's the Zombies.
The Zombies? Okay. That's kind of funny. That was recommended by Meetis. We'll say what the name of the song. Those, I don't think they can hear it on YouTube.
Right.
But at least we'll...
Yeah. Hang on a second, Jess. Can I just reconnect your call? Stay there. Just
sure.
Answer the call when I come. Just a bit square, because I've, we should get a bit of, interference there. And bring that one. There we are.
Yeah.
That's a lot better. A lot better.
Wonderful.
So, shall we start with our readings?
Yeah. We'll start with Andronicus and then we'll play that song that he recommended right after it.
I'm having a hard time with what's happening on the planet. There seems to be so much confusion and lifting of timelines that I can barely get a handle on what's happening. That's funny. Just what I was just saying. I want you to know that I love you, and I've had many difficult times observing your current experience. My only wishes are that you would join me more often. Speak with me more. I feel lonely often. I don't know where to turn. Everything seems so unsettling. I have so much, this is true, but I need to feel loved and supported in my doings. The people are gathering around Meetis. I see them loving him. He makes them smile, he makes them laugh, he moves them to the core. I never stayed long enough to develop the love of community, and I would so love to have it now. The isolation has gotten to me. In my attempt to protect myself, I have grown to insurmountable ends to hide, to avoid, to leave all things behind. I only carry but a few, but can never take anything with me when I depart. It is a perpetual feeling of emptiness, loneliness, and floating in an endless wind leading nowhere, without destination. You shine now. I can see you above the dusty grey tones of the earth. You are coming back into your essence, not leaving it as you have been in the past. Every waking hour I contemplate what I have done and see nothing but mistakes and poor judgments and snap decisions. It all hurts deeply now. I once convinced myself that I could make these leaps and decisions without the repercussions or worries of end results. Now I see clearly. I must return and amend them all. Your song, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. Thank you for doing this for me. I love you, dear heart and soul. I'm heading off with the first ticket back to the origin of the problem. I will speak to you when I arrive to settle old debts and amend some wrong decisions. Farewell, sweet one. We'll be together one day. Okay, so welcome back. So, we can see clearly now Andronicus is... Oh, that was very moving, that last part, you know.
It was.
We'll be together one day.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to Rhodan. Rhodan just kind of blew me away today as well. He had some very powerful information, and this is something that I've been working on. I haven't talked to anyone about, is my discovery of these ancient engineers. And, you know that movie, The Prometheus, right? And
yeah.
She discovers the engineers, and there's the bad group, and they want to destroy the humans. Well, it's not quite like that. Actually, I did discover something that parallels that. Obviously, we're not on this, another planet, and we didn't go there in a spacecraft. But I went there my own way and discovered a rogue group of these ancient engineers, and I don't want to go into it too much now. I think it's probably going to be a bigger subject later, or an ongoing subject for a little while until we've sorted out. I asked Rhodan to explain to me, because not all of them are rogue. Some of them were in an earlier existence, and the rogue ones, I think, were part of this virus that we got in our system that has impacted our world, which creates wars, and as well as, you know, biological problems that we've had, biological viruses and so forth that we just don't know where they came from. So let's begin and just read through it, Rhodan, and I'll see what they want me to say at this point. It's kind of important that you bring this stuff in a little slowly, because you have to really wrap your head around it, and then it starts to settle in, and then you're ready to get more information. You see what I'm saying? If you try to pull it all together, it just becomes confusing and could be upsetting. But if you kind of take it in pieces, then it's easier to absorb, I guess. I don't know any other way to say it. All right. All
right, everybody. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Take a long breath out through your mouth. We're going in. You discovered the rogue group of ancient engineers. I see there have been many complaints filed against you.
Does that mean the ones complaining have been in allegiance with the rogue group, thinking that they were good?
This is the beginning of ending the old system. It is uncomfortable and awkward for many. They were beholden to the golden string of false virtue. Many of them devoted their lives to these systems and found a broken vessel or dust and ashes at the end of the road.
Tell me about the ancient engineers. Who were they, and why were they so influential in life throughout the universe?
They existed before time as you know it. All universes were created by this primordial matter that they discovered in their sphere of existence. Some of these created beings you refer to as referred to as an ancient engineer, was an early civilization of beings of a very strong density. Some attribute lower density as being in a negative space. In this space, all were lower density and did not survive outside of it. There were both contrasts fixed within the space. Not only was this in a different reality outside of your universe, or predating your universe, although this concept of predating does not exist as you know it, the complexity of this society housed both positive and negative. The beings were complete into themselves. I can hear you asking about gender, as it appears you are curious, as most humans would be. We didn't experience gender at that time. Gender appeared at a point when the essence began to split and separated the essence, or as you interpret, a soul. This came later. The sexual aspect was not necessary. We were created, and we did not reproduce. This concept came later.
You keep mentioning that you were a part of this existence. Were you one of them, the ancient engineers? If so, were you called what they refer to as the species gigantic?
Yes. We were called the gigantic because it was not our size but our expansion to lengths of our universe. Our density is an aspect that allowed us to build beyond universes. We are creator beings. Welcome to our space. Now you are beginning to understand how far back we go, and yet still never comprehend our expansion, unless you were one of us once. The ancient engineers, as you know it, we called it ourselves the Tabathli Om. Your sacred word Om comes from us. The word Sabbat comes from us. It is from our system that you exist. I will share with you many truths about this existence. As creators, we knew the impact of light and dark. We like the contrast and the glowing energy of fusion. All of your energy sources you are so fearful of is because when misused, they cause a destruction. As a result of the misuse, you are learning to abide by the laws from within. When you open up to a higher knowing, the very energy source you were frightened of will become the very source of life-giving properties. We have given your friend Max permission to help introduce these new concepts. Not everyone is allowed to do this yet. As the early team of the ancient engineers, many of us were good. As children, we explored the far reaches of galaxies and universe to see what we could create. Without a previous model, we were as scientists, alchemists, workers of quantum and primordial matter to mix and blend to all imaginable heights and depths. I am one with my creations. With everything I created, I put my essence of life into it like a breath. Many others did the same. Sometimes we will entangle our light force into one another. It is a fusion of love and created a new matter, or essence, or structure. With all matter there is a signature of the builder. With all matter there is a spark of the essence. The alchemy of two or more created even more magnificent things. With this knowledge we began to collaborate. Thus, with collaboration, much brighter, beautiful things began to exist, like the stars in your sun. Are you feeling our love now? It comes through time to greet you.
I do. I wish everyone could feel this. It is so beautiful. How could you and all the engineers feel this love, and yet some had fallen away and became rogue, like the ones I saw who created all the viruses we experience?
That is a complex question to explain. It comes in many parts and perspectives. I can't go into that now. I will have to teach you all a little at a time. It would be too confusing to explain it today, especially since much is pivoting on your future existence.
That brings up the question that I've been burdened with. Are we safe? Our systems seem so unsettling now. Can we balance this?
Your friend Max was sent to help this planet. Help him be at peace, and then we can move on.
I will share what you had said to him. I'm feeling that more is coming along now, and you are leaving my space. I have so many questions still.
Just think about what I have to say. You are also an important part of this. You are the one we chose to speak through. Go on for now. Share my message with all my children. I love you all. Peace.
Rhodan.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Your friend Max was sent to help this planet. Well, there he is on Wolf Spirit Radio. We're all here. We're all gathered. This is it.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. Wow.
Yeah.
Engineers.
I know. I wasn't, honestly, everyone, no one could have paid me to say what I said there. I was in complete alignment with Rhodan with that. And if Rhodan asked me to say something, I'm going to say it. And, I don't necessarily promote anyone in particular. I mean, I love everyone. I want everyone to thrive and do well. But, he told me to say that. And, I haven't talked to Max much about it. I don't even know what he has to say about it or what he thinks, but, but I did send that to him and told him I was going to, say it over the show because I was surprised to see it as well. And also they said that he has permission from these ancient engineers to be the one that brings in the new technology, the free energy stuff. So it must be that there's a trust level, and that was part of his role. And he did that last night on the show.
Yeah. I mean, we exactly spoke about, we had these two very, basically, felt like one was a walk-in and one was like incarnated ET. So, that was quite an energy they had, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very, very interesting, and they're prepared, I believe, to start bringing in this free energy. It has to be a very strong. If people thought that they had a strong vibe to them, it's necessary to break through the old system. So to be able to stand strong while there's, challenges and other issues that have been done in the past. I mean, there's been quite a few people that have tried to introduce new concepts and free energy into our reality. Nikola Tesla really suffered for it, put himself on the line and devoted his life to help and found himself in this situation. So I admire those that have tried, and it's been dangerous, but I feel like this group is going to make it through. So
well,
we're going to hold that vibration.
This is something that has been a constant theme that you see it on a lot of the Ascension news things. But there's an order to things, and the first order is to arrest the cabal, because if we can't arrest the cabal, then we can't do anything else. Until the cabal's completely dealt with, which is that's not going to be long. I mean, we're watching it happen right now. We're watching the arrest phase. It has to be the arrest first. Otherwise, the machinery that they use is going to continue to murder and maim anybody who tries to put out new money and anybody who tries to put out new technology. So the first thing is arrest. Then the reevaluation happens of the financial system and all that reset and all that stuff, all that good stuff. But that couldn't happen before the cabal. And then, in the midst of, after once everybody's safe with money, right? So first we have to stop the bad guys, then we have to get everybody safe and secure with money, and then we can bring out, the new technologies and the disclosure. But that's all trickling out anyway. They're not really, all happening in sequence. They're kind of all happening at the same time, but some will filter through, so they'll appear to occur one after the other. If you see what I mean. I mean, people who've been planning this, the White Hats have been planning this for years and years and years, and it's now started to happen. You can see all the signals have come up.
Right.
Did you hear about, the Staffordshire assassins, that are looking after Donald Trump?
No.
Well, there's this ancient order of assassins.
What does Meetis have to do with this?
You never know. He may have started the thing, but there's this ancient Freemason order that is like Templar kind of knights. And I knew I could always see he had this kind of Templar knighty kind of energy around him. Whether it was him or that he was surrounded by it. Maybe he's not, maybe he's never been part of any of these things and they see it and like, okay, you're our boy. And he's given the honorary knighthood or something. I don't know how it works. Shall I get into character?
Not yet, because they said that they wanted you to play that song by the Zombies. What is it called?
The time of the season. And this, as I said, it's exactly 3 minutes and 33 seconds. So I'll see you in 3 minutes and 33 seconds, everyone. Welcome back, Pop Pickers. Now we're back now.
All right, and lots of music today.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun. It feels a little bit like a celebration, but what's your name? Who's your daddy?
I love that. I mean, I love there's so much about that song that I love. I love its atmosphere. It's kind of it's the wall of sound. Reverb sound, but these weird harmonies, I loved all that.
I know.
And so, but, by the way, it wasn't me who chose, all music has been chosen by our, dramatis personae themselves.
Yeah. I think that was in celebration of, Rhodan, who's your daddy. He said all my children. So, I was wondering why I was getting that, and Meetis picked out the two songs, but the first song that we haven't played the last one yet, so this song and the next song was selected by Meetis, and the first one was selected by Andronicus.
Maybe
I
Meetis
can see
was
clearly now the rain's gone by, who was it?
Johnny Nash.
Nash.
Maybe Meetis was choosing for Rhodan, because maybe Rhodan's a bit above that, all that stuff.
Yeah, who's your daddy?
Yeah. So everybody's got their ideas about what's coming next, but we won't give it away. Yeah. So anyway, thank you very much. Right. So, are we ready for
Meetis?
Hello, my love. It's been a long journey, hasn't it? And yet you have still not arrived to where you need to be. So many interruptions and difficulties. I'm sorrowful for all the tragedies that have occurred. I can't go into it now, but it is all beginning to make sense. I see in the South Court of London a problem. Dare I say what it is? I dare not to disentangle you from it. It is dark, so very dark, my love. Keep your eyes open if you happen to venture there. Now then, the gathering has begun. Tell Primus he's going to have jolly fun. What a kicker he is. My Friar. Yes, my dear friend. We broke bread and had a morsel of cheese and hot tea. I supplied the tea oftentimes. He was so simple and weary when we met. By the time I had befriended him, we got into all manner of things. I see my town is recollecting. My beloved people, how I adore you. So life-giving to the planet. There are more, so many more, I tell you. A fun group you are and a hearty bunch, resilient to all systems and rulers as I taught you to gather and hunt on your own. Don't wait for the petty bunch to serve you. Serve yourself, I say. Be what you will, no matter what they tell you to do. Wear your clothing as you will. Tighten your socks, dress in gilded garments from shiny pockets of the proud who purchase your wares. Make money from them, I say, or barter, a token or two. Yes, Ches remembers a thing or two. So, Feather, my love, you fill your heart with smiles and excitement. Do you remember when I walked into the pub and you could recognize my gait, my walk? Didn't matter what I wore. At times I wore silk socks, but would drink a bit of ale with the best of you. The music. The music eclipsed the sun, and we never wanted to sleep. What a fine day it was to wake up with the birds chirping and the yellow flowers blowing in the wind. The smell of sweet herbs and hay. I love it all, and I remember those days. Saffron, Anthea, K-girls, all my lovelies. Ray, have you got the mead I sent? Rose, my lovely flower, we are getting closer. Keep holding the faith for us. The old ones still hear you. Peace to you all. My eyes are full of tears. I will show you more. Tell me, my friar, you don't remember that I put your image on Staffordshire as I promised. The crest has your name on it. My lovelies, I am gone for now. There is a harsh battle ahead. I will lose many of my friends soon. But soon some of the sorrows will be over. Some of you will remember these battles. I tell you, you will need to heal from this. Primus, Catron and Catriton all fought here and fell here. It was a bloody bath. Your blood still speaks to me at times. Heal, my brothers, and be free. Whoa.
Yeah. Meetis. He's very happy, but I think he's headed towards something that's very, very sorrowful, and he knows what the outcome is already.
Mm.
So, I think he wanted to mention everyone, but he didn't. He mentions whoever he mentions, and maybe at one time or another he'll mention someone's name and not another's.
Mm.
Please don't take offense to it. I don't want to insert anything that's not supposed to be there. So for whatever it's doing, it's triggering and helping people to feel the connection to him. He's there for everybody. Yeah.
It's all at the right time. Everything, if somebody, it may take some people shorter time to waken up or to be, what's that word? Activated.
Or connected.
And other people may take longer. So they were the ones that get like connected in first.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about that, is it?
Yeah, no, it isn't.
So, shall we play our third song and then we'll bring in our guest and it will be smooth like a proper radio show?
Yeah.
Way.
What was the third song that
the song is by The Loving Spoonful, which in itself is it's the same concept as 10cc. Anyway,
yeah.
So this is
the name of the song is
Daydream.
Daydream, yes.
Shortly. Oh, okay. Welcome back. We're still having the party here. There we go.
Yeah, sorry.
Did you kill it? Is it dead? Is it dead?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's dead now.
So I'm going to introduce who we're going to have on here. So this is the illustrious Friar that Meetis was looking for, and
is he the one that kept getting drunk?
Oh. He's the one that drank lots of tea, I guess, and broke bread with Meetis.
Oh, well, yeah.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Hey, how am I? Perplexed. I was just saying to JP when you said I was the Friar, I thought I had a fish and chip shop.
Well, maybe that's why he liked you.
Well, yeah.
You had an interesting definition or thought about Meetis, and you referred to him as the Joker on the playing cards. Why don't you share with everyone what you thought about that?
No, that post I made this morning. Do you mean?
Yeah, you sent something to me before about.
I made a post about a subject I feel deeply about, which is about the Fool on the tarot card.
Fool, that's what it is. Yes.
Right. Nothing to do with Meetis. Although Meetis actually would, in many ways, Meetis and Andronicus, excuse my stammering at times, Meetis and Andronicus would both correspond in some ways to the Fool of the tarot card. in the way their approach to life. Because the fool is the one who goes forward towards the cliff with his head in the air and the little dog barking at his feet, which represents the instincts and such. But the fool doesn't give a damn. And he's walking straight into the precipice because the fool has he's worked his way through, shall we say, the fields of Maya, to coin the Buddhist word term. And basically he's seen the reality and also the non-reality of it. But he's also seen what reality is, and reality with a capital R. And having seen that, let's call it the mystic reality, he's no longer attached to the earth. So he doesn't give a damn where he's walking, because he's basically lost his attachments to the earth, even though he's still on it. And this, I feel, now you brought it up, has a certain correspondence to Andronicus's behaviour and Meetis, in that they can put themselves in the world of form that we are in now, and yet they're still not part of it, if you know what I mean. So, right. In that respect, they do bear a certain resemblance to the Fool of the Tarot card. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's...
Oh.
They don't have any fears. You're right, you nailed it. They don't, and if they get into something, they get into it, and they sort of welcome it.
They go in with both feet and both hands and everything, with all guns blazing, and to hell with the consequences. They still have a good heart and everything, but they immerse themselves fully and with full consciousness in experience, in the experience of form, and they enjoy it, and they also suffer at the same time, which basically is what we're doing when we incarnate. The only difference between our incarnation and their incarnation is that they have a what I would call a vertical polarity with their spirit, and yet they can still partake in form, if that makes any sense to you. We are not always able to do that, unless we've been through some deep spiritual training. But to these people, it's natural to them.
Is it possible that they are trying to show us that sometimes you can be called a fool for putting yourself out there and doing something that is not typical, but that's how you make change?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm sure that's true, yeah. One thing, I was listening to the show, and it struck me that Meetis, Andronicus, and Rhodan, firstly, you have a trinity, right? Now a trinity in human psychology is an archetype in itself. I think we can quote Jung on this, as also is the number 4. 4 is an archetype of human psychology. There's something about it that relates to the depths of the human spirit, really, I suppose. I don't know what it would be, but the Trinity turns up all over the place, apart from the Roman Catholic religion, which I despise, being a strong ex-Catholic, I must admit. But basically, with Meetis, you have one aspect of humanity, or I would say, which is the aspect of humanity immersed in form. And Andronicus, you have an aspect of humanity which is just outside of form, let's say the soul, for instance. And with Rhodan, he might represent the actual spirit. So in that respect, you have a threefold system, haven't you? A threefold way of looking at it. Because Rhodan, while he's interested in the affairs of what's going on the planet, he's not as interlaced with them as Andronicus and Meetis is. So to some extent, you might say that the three of them represent aspects of the human psyche or aspects of the human experience, if that makes any sense to you.
I'd be inclined to agree that. I put it in the chat room, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you.
That Rhodan, in my school, Rhodan would represent Ray 1 of power. Andronicus would represent Ray 2 of love, wisdom, and teaching, and Ray 3 is Meetis, with active intelligence.
That's right. Yeah.
And, he's like dodgy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dodgy, serpentine. That's Ray 3, all over.
He's the used car salesman who can't make a living.
Oh, he gets by.
It is okay with that.
He gets by, yeah.
Big borrows with steals, right?
Who says no worries, mate, it'll be all right, and he's scratching his bloody head all the time.
Well, in the whole story of Robin Hood, he's sort of like a Robin Hood, and the whole reference to the Friar, I couldn't help but get that out of my head. And other people sort of mention that whole Nottingham experience too.
Well, weren't we talking about Robin Hood?
Yes, we did privately.
In our Skype call, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Why don't you share what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I'm no expert. I can only reflect what I've learned, but Robin Hood seems to represent the Green Man, for example. The Green Man being, I believe, a Pan-like figure in English folklore. JP can correct me or agree with me on that. Robin Hood represents a kind of elemental aspect to the times he was living in. I think that's fair to say. And I was also very deeply influenced, and I love that program the BBC did on Robin Hood, and with that wonderful theme tune by, was it Clannad or something? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, maybe we can play it. I don't know if it's long enough.
It's called, the theme tune was called Robin. Very, 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 very atmospheric, and the whole of that series was extremely atmospheric. It told you basically in your face that Robin Hood had a great deal to do with nature and the nature spirits and the elementals around him. This was implied in the actual program itself, so they were actually telling you this. I'm going back a good number of years now, 20, 30 years possibly. Good God, 25 years maybe. But there's very, very another aspect of Robin Hood. I think I'm right in saying, one analogy we might make with Robin Hood is that of Yeshua. I won't use the word Christ. Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, who was his wife. Mm-hmm. And Robin Hood was an avatar-like figure, like Yeshua, and he had Maid Marian.
Well, like Maid Marian, Marilyn Monroe, Mary Magdalene, this whole double M thing.
Absolutely, they're archetypes. The whole thing, looking at it from a perspective, a holistic perspective, you can see the archetypes in them. I mean the archetype of Yeshua, for instance. I don't know how much truth there is in it. I mean, he said to have married Mary Magdalene, and the marriage of Cana was the actual marriage feast of Yeshua himself to Mary Magdalene. And the actual painting that Da Vinci did was a painting of Mary Magdalene, I think I'm right in saying, leaning over to Jesus. And I also heard a story that Yeshua had an affair with Peter, and Mary Magdalene Peter was a bit jealous of Mary Magdalene, and Mary Magdalene was fearful of Peter, which is an interesting story. I don't know what the truth is, but I thought I'd just throw that in. There's an awful lot we're not being told, and there's a hell of a lot that's being hidden. A hell of a lot, you know. I mean, you can't believe the church, and you can't believe what's in the history books. Most of it's nonsense. Looking at it from our point of view.
Well, in the beginning of me telling these stories and people, and I started channeling Meetis, in particular, Borkum, some of these, even Andronicus for his infidelity and kind of his sexual encounters, and people would be like, well, these are, lower vibrational beings. Why are you even channeling them? I said, well, maybe the ones that you thought were higher were actually doing these things, but we don't know about it.
This is another topic which you brought up. I was going to talk about. I don't know how long we got.
Go for it. You know what? This is the time to go for it, Nick, because we have to make people think about what, they're not all shiny and perfect, and they're not just, if they say that they are the divine something. What I would like to know is, what dimension are they from?
What area of the galaxy or the universe are they from? I would like to know what state of consciousness is natural to them, if that can be quantified, or if we can have some comparison, for example. And basically, what is the attraction to the world of form as opposed to their natural level of consciousness? Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going down the deep rabbit hole here.
Yes, let's do it.
And I think this whole worth at the end of it. And a bloody big white rabbit.
So let's go over the question again then, and
sorry,
because I was chatting. So let's get into this. I mean, are they as shining and perfect as they say, or are we acting out in a way similar to them?
This is a philosophical point. We only know perfection, and we only know morality by the terms that these are understood on this earth through the conditioning and through the limitations, the imposed limitations on our ego mind, which is a long sentence. But basically, we are looking at morality from excuse me, from a point of view. We are sort of at one end of a funnel, looking outwards to a greater whole. But our view is only so far. Therefore, our concepts of morality are either artificial or they're limited by the scope of our view of the universe. Whereas if we're on the other end of it, morality might vanish altogether because it has no meaning. Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So basically, we are only right in these respects in terms of our limited experience. In other words, the values we ascribe to morality are only applicable according to the limitations of our consciousness. Whereas if we had an elevated consciousness, those values will disappear into a greater understanding. Do you follow me?
Yes.
Now the corollary, I'll spell it in a minute, to this. Why is Andronicus, Meetis, and I assume Rhodan, and Borkum and all that, why are they immersed in form when if they come from an elevated level of consciousness, there is something in form itself. Let's go below the sixth density, fifth density, fourth density, third. There is something which is attracting spirits into this realm. Is it just to experience it? Is it because it's a difference from their normal level of functioning?
Is it possible that the creators love the created, that they want to be with us
I know.
Is it possible that they don't want to see a separation between us and them? And I'm not just calling them our creators, but sort of, that they have the capacity in that level to be in their lofty space. But maybe that's not what's interesting to them. Maybe this is why they don't want to be alone. They don't like that aloneness. They don't like the separateness. Everything that's created under the sun is a part of what they thought would be interesting. In part, not all of it, but participating in it, seeing it, knowing it, joining us quietly, maybe not so quietly.
A big subject. I had just discovered another 2 hours conversation here on that subject alone. Basically, I go out each day now, and it helps me emotionally and spiritually. It helps me to go out and mix with people and simply be in the presence of people and get the blooming heck out of the house, for one thing. But I do it because I like people, I love people, and there are some extremely decent people out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now then, including yourselves, of course, and I'll leave myself out of it. But basically, if you consider, if at our level of consciousness we can appreciate goodness and love and decency and the smile of a beautiful woman, for instance, I don't think there's anything nicer, I'm sure. Or the innocent smile of a child, for instance, is a lot of, I'm sure, star seeds amongst the children nowadays, I'm sure of it. But to appreciate this is something in itself that cannot be experienced by a being with a higher consciousness. For a being of a higher consciousness. Now, if our reality is valid at this level, if our experience of love and our experience, albeit limited, of consciousness at this level has a validity to it, a being of a higher consciousness cannot experience it unless that being enters into an incarnation in our reality. Now, this might be explain why so many high-level beings are incarnating here, apart from the ascension, which I hope is true, to come here and experience what we're experiencing and experience the transformation of this earth. You cannot have that in a high dimension because that high dimension doesn't need it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You see, we may say we're in the Matrix. We may say we're immersed in Maya, the world of illusion, but that does not take away the validity of our consciousness, of our experience. It's only an illusion in terms of something higher than itself, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But it's valid within its own parameters. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it appears that there's parameters.
To experience this, a being must firstly have a higher order, must be able to empathize with us to some extent. And then from that empathy must come the desire to incarnate and have our experience. Does that make any sense?
It does. It's an exploration that maybe they wanted to revisit. I mean, why is it that there's so many species here on the planet right now?
Absolutely.
They could be anywhere, creating their own little private societies, and yet they're here.
Absolutely. You just said
it.
I mean, Tompkins, is it William Tompkins said the Nordics are working with the US Air Force, I believe, and Lockheed Martin. The Nordics. Now, that's his testimony. So, I mean, obviously, the Nazis had the Aldebarans, for instance. I mean, who I believe are a rogue or semi-rogue group, I believe. But the Nordics are apparently trying to influence certain aspects of the US Air Force and various aspects of government along certain lines, probably technology-oriented, but they seem to be on our side. But the consequences Why are they doing it? Because they must have come from a higher level down to our level in order to help us.
They want to help us. Some of them want to rule us in a way, or they kind of want to be in that experience where they're a little worshipped. There's a lot of different reasonings. Not all of them are like still in the right place yet, and we have to remind them that they can join us in a nice way and not try to control us. Because I think that's what the Cabal was a group that came from elsewhere and wanted us to be in a slave situation, because that still exists in our universe, where this is the contrast of things, is trying to take a group and then make them subordinate.
How common is this? How common is this to your knowledge in the universe?
It's like a half and half. You have half a group that I don't know. I mean, maybe this is just the way that they're showing it to me, but it looks like there's been times that I've seen a literal wall of darkness. There's no light in it. And I remember just like kind of standing there looking through a bit, not wanting to really venture in. But, and I could, I guess, if I was requested to, but you don't just do that ordinarily if the opportunity is there, because you don't know the entanglements that you suddenly become involved with.
Is that one of darkness caused by people's aura?
I think it is, it's a really, really complex subject, because there's multiple things taking place for that density or that the contrast to exist. Yes. It's sort of what were they formed out of, and then how those things that were formed out of that had entangled themselves with a neutral species like ourselves, who then could choose either one in entanglement. So then it manifests, and the more we welcome it in, the more it takes over the space of our soul, creating.
In other words, the more we resonate with it, the more it identifies with us, the more it becomes entangled with us.
But we have to be absent from it. We have to, it's almost like our souls are really not designed to align with it, because otherwise then why would the soul try to would be vacating the vessel, which is the body? Why would it be separating instead of joining in with that and actually fusing with it? It can't. The soul was not designed in that form, and so that this hereby becomes what we perceive as a viral or a contaminant, as opposed to actually a living thing just joining with us. So if anything can join with us, it could be maybe our own soul aspect that needs to return to us. But to my understanding, when another species comes in, we can't just merge with it in that way. So then what they're doing then with hybrid species, now that brings up another type of that is emerging, isn't it?
This brings a lot of questions. This hybridization,
which converges and
there's a lot
brings.
of things about this, does Jessica? These hybrids. I mean, I don't know what to think about it. I mean, I've studied the abductions. I listened to Jane and Bartlett, and I listened to pretty much all the pundits and experiences out there. And that lady whose mentor was called Da. I told you that joke. Mm-hmm. Remember Da? I can't think of. I said I'll find him, and JP might know who I'm talking about, but I'm sure you've heard of her. But basically, she made a soul contract to be a vessel for the hybrids, and she was taken up regularly into the craft and examined and helped and treated. But it was her soul contract. She made that decision. She was one of them. She is one of them. But these are not actual greys as such, but they explained to her that the grey body type is the most common used as a vessel for a higher consciousness to take on. It's a more efficient vessel, it was explained to her, than a human body, which is why there's so many greys. And this was I won't call it a species of grey, but it had a body type similar to a grey.
Mm-hmm.
But Dar explained to her that the grey body type is the best vessel to actually inhabit if you want to manipulate the 3D reality.
Well, I must confess that a few years back, I was
my hands are not good anymore.
Yeah, I was in a relationship with someone, and I kept on waking up in the middle of the night with tremendous anxiety that my baby wasn't being taken care of. Mm. And you know, I do have a child. Well, he's 20 years old now. Mm. So I would wake up and I'd have this horrible feeling that I've neglected my child and there's no one there to feed him, and I'm devastated. You know, I'm like, well, what's going on? And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have a child. You know, whose child is that? Mm. And it went on for about a year until I just realized and came to terms with the fact that I had a hybrid child somewhere, and somehow, some way, something happened while I was with this person that I wasn't fully aware of. And then I began to see that child develop until I saw him as an adult, and or at least the same age as my current biological child. Mm. And he was doing well. And he said his name was Jason. And I explained to him and told him I didn't neglect him, that I didn't understand how to access him, and maybe I was coming to see him when I was asleep. And he was very well balanced. He was happy. He was doing really well. But he also was in another time space. And at one point, I actually saw him standing next to my son. It just brought tears to me that both of them were about the same height, same type of temperament. It was like one of them, of course, I could see my son in 3D. And then there was like almost the transparency of him. The other one next to him smiling and standing next to him like he was happy that he could see his brother and he could see me. And it was a really, really bizarre situation. I don't know. I still haven't really figured out who the actual father was, how this happened. But, you know, people will tell you about hybrids. I had someone actually come to me that, you know, was going through labor pains. Mm-hmm. And we figured out that and it was manifesting in a physical way. And the labor pains, manifested in a child, and I know she was upset. But the child was elsewhere, and it's the same thing. It's the separation from the child. And whatever is happening here is so bizarre. I'm not angry about it, as some people are. Some people get very angry about it. I don't offer myself as a breeder. That's, you know, not permitted. However, you know, if that happens, then maybe it happens. You know, if I have consent, I say no. But
from my understanding, these things aren't random. I think Dar said that these things aren't random. They have to be done under agreement, and the agreement is a soul agreement before the woman incarnates. But once she incarnates, invariably the memories are either wiped beforehand, or they're simply unable to have those memories because probably those memories are at a different frequency to her normal experience, brain consciousness, I would imagine. But
yeah.
About that. But basically, it has to be by agreement.
One would think, but you know, like I said, there's a lot of rogue, and a lot of things going on, and
I believe so.
That there's so too many hands in the cookie jar. I'll say it like
absolutely.
that. There's
absolutely.
Too many species. Someone opened the door and let all the different species come in that did not have consent and permission. I say it was a backdoor entry.
That's
It
right.
wasn't a front door entry. They didn't come in through the proper channels. They came in through the back door. And so that's why they're getting away.
What is the nature of this back door?
We've been looking to shut the back door because, and that was something that I had a discussion with the Mantids. I had a discussion with the Zeta Reticuli. I've had a discussion, you know, with different groups and told them it's best for you to return back. than for someone to come after you and obliterate wherever your existence is right now. And they're aware of that. And I'm not saying that about some of the mantids are good, but some of them were very rogue. There's also other species.
Like human beings,
course,
really.
The reptilians also, a lot of them, they're entering into our space. Someone had just opened the door and let everything in. And now we're trying to, sort it out, clean it up.
Jessica, what is the nature of that door? What is the nature of this back door? Can you say anything about that?
It's complex. There's multiple portals that lead in, and one of them, when I traced back to these ancient engineers, and that's when I had a discussion with Rhodan about it today, as there was a rogue group of ancient engineers, and they were the ones that were bringing in the viruses now, where the virus is actually intended to be here for us to learn and to figure things out, or were there levels of intrusion? And, obviously some of these species have been around for a very long time. It's not like you can just destroy them. And even if you were, how would that offset the balance of everything? There's a lot of wisdom that has to go into, how things transpire. And so, just a discussion with, can you please stop meddling with humanity? Now, some of them absolutely love the fact that they're connecting with humanity in that way and want our essence to be with them, almost like we have this light about us that they're missing. But yeah, there has to be certain rules.
Do they love humanity, or do they love manipulating humanity?
Right here. Well, here's something to think about. How many humans manipulate each other in an attempt because they do love or desire to be with someone? So the art of romance is usually entangled with a little bit of, hey, I can convince this person to do this with me or that.
Of course
and
it is.
So it's, some of it's a manipulation, but not enough.
In a relationship, you never have two absolutely equally balanced polarities. If you do, that relationship is stagnant. Am I right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Therefore, if you have mentorship by one species to another, no matter how benevolent and loving and kind and wise that the mentoring species may be, you'll always have manipulation, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but you'll always have it. You cannot avoid it by the very nature of having an interaction.
Great. You can't avoid it. And also, just, think about it. If someone does something to you and they're not supposed to do it, what do they usually do? They usually hide. And so that's why.
If I give you something nice at Christmas, I mean, I buy my neighbour a bag of Marks and Spencer's food at Christmas and all that. Really, it's expensive, but she doesn't go to Marks and Spencer's. In a sense, you are manipulating that person, not consciously, but there is a manipulation by virtue of interaction.
Yeah.
Now, no one, I doubt if even these advanced species of the 8th or 10th dimension can know the consequences of their interaction if we live in a free will universe. It's impossible.
I think there's in everything there's subtle forms of manipulation, but not with horrible intention. But I think part of the way that we interact is it's always, any person that works in sales, any person that does anything in this world has to convince someone to engage with them in one way or another, to sell something, to even, to be honest, to listen to what we're talking about. Is it malicious manipulation? No, it's a convincing, but it's subtle. But then if you ramp that up with malice, yes, then it really crosses a line. You have to know there's a line there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Change the word manipulation. Exchange it for the word dynamic. So instead of talking about manipulation, talk in terms of a dynamic interaction between a mentoring species and the species being mentored. That takes the word manipulation out of it. It takes away the connotations of manipulation, and it puts it in terms of energetics, really, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you've got an energetic interchange between the mentoring species and the mentored species. Therefore, you're taking all concepts of morality out of it, which are probably false, and you're simply talking about it in terms of an energetic and conscious reaction between the two species.
Yes.
That makes sense to you?
So then there's degrees of it where some of these species, I'm not sure, that they maybe don't have the same type of emotional makeup.
Absolutely.
They're not fully understanding about how it traumatizes us, and maybe don't know where they're crossing a line, where that is. As we would understand it, we know when we're crossing the line with each other, and whether we recognize it or not. But some of them, I think, are not fully aware. They feel like their contribution and to connect with us, maybe they feel like they're bringing in a genetics of advancement to a combined agreement and with the species joined together. So maybe they're seeing it as, well, I'm doing you a favor. I'm bringing this advanced being into reality, and we're joining together. And whatever their consideration of love or desire or connection that they have with that human, it's hard to evaluate their full thinking. But I don't feel that it's all malicious. I feel that it's a perspective, and so we have to remove ourselves from our human opinions in order to fully observe this objectively.
Absolutely. It's the point I'm going to make. The problem is this. The problem is the words we use and the limited understanding we have with respect to our words. Now, I suggest the word morality be taken out of the equation completely. And we've found a new definition, just as we've used dynamic instead of manipulation. What, I don't know at the moment. But if we take the word morality out of it, I think we will get onto a more level playing field in terms of our understanding of our relationship with these more advanced species. Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit convoluted, but you see, the problem is all our words, as JP has said, and this has made me think of it. All our words have an energetic aspect to them. All our words are a form of energy. They're a talisman. They're a sigil. They carry an emotional charge to the person who understands those words. This is one of our problems. We are probably, in relation to understanding these species, it might well be we are using our words wrongly in terms of trying to understand them and in terms of trying to interact with them. Words are the problem. Conceptual thinking is the problem. These people don't have a conceptual thinking.
They don't, and their mind is very, very advanced in different ways. So
right, yeah.
Here's the deal. They're probably not going to go away entirely. No. I don't know if we're supposed to, in order to create our next step, which is in galactic civilizations, where we're actually not just military on different bases on other planets, but maybe this is part of our future, is being able to stretch out and move into other places in the galaxy. So we need to figure out how to better communicate than we have up till this time.
How many people on this planet, what percentage of people on this planet have an equal vibrational frequency to a typical ET from, let's say, the fifth dimension? Have a guess. I don't know.
I can tell you what the number that came up in my head. I don't know how accurate it is.
15%.
I got about 30 to 40%. Maybe 35.
Are they only capable of raising up to that frequency? Because it does take effort.
Yeah, I think what happens is
breathing all the time now.
It hits a pivotal point and then it grows incrementally or something like that. That's what I'm getting also, as far as information.
The point I'm making here is basically the one reason, or the main reason I've heard that the ET, and it makes lots of sense, the ETs don't intermingle with us, is because we stink to bloody high heaven, as you putting it bluntly. And this was told, apparently, by a draconian working in an underground base with scientists. He says, you human beings, you stink, you smell. And he was
that's because the draconians are not very nice.
He was not talking in a physical sense. He was talking about a psychological sense. What goes on in our minds.
Yeah, well, the draconians are not very nice. They're very warlike.
Lots of people, their minds are like bloody sewers. They will some bloody sewers. We've all been through it, and you've got to work.
It's true, but that species in particular is calling the kettle black. They're calling the kettle black. The draconians are pretty bad. They, of all of them, I can't even communicate with them. I can communicate with a lot of different species. But I will, talking about physically stinking, I heard that some of the gray species smell like cinnamon. They smell like cinnamon, I guess, and some people don't like that smell. It's because they consume a lot of cinnamon.
Really? That's a very interesting thing. I wonder why that's why, do you think that's why Peter's encouraging everybody to eat cinnamon?
Yeah, the cinnamon tea, the Peter Burger tea, right? The cinnamon, it's mint tea with cinnamon, honey, and
lemon.
It
is delicious, by the way. It is really very nice.
It is.
Yeah.
It might be the emerthers. It might be the emerthers that smell like cinnamon. I don't know, but they're very funny little creatures.
Cinnamon's very nice.
I shouldn't say creatures; they'll get angry at me.
Can I just say, Nick, when you're on a radio call, if you speak at the same time as somebody else is speaking, it doesn't work properly. You have to wait till somebody. It's more like a round robin radio situation rather than a conversation in the room, because I can hear you talking in the background, but it just makes the other person's voice go up and down rather than you can't hear what's going on. So if you wouldn't mind just allowing somebody to say, and then you respond then, like as if you're on a two-way radio.
That's what too much energy, JP. Too much energy.
JP, what do you think?
What do I think?
Conversation.
You want to know what I'm thinking?
Yes. I can feel your brainwaves going.
Go spare 4,000 years. God blimey. I mean, there's so much going on at the moment. Give me a topic to get some traction on then.
Well, the species, what we were just talking about.
All right.
About them coming and connecting with us. What are your thoughts?
Like you were saying, another thing that Sean mentioned, that some of the other humans don't like to be with us because our languages are even disturbing to their way of thinking. It's like almost the English language is a mind virus, because it forces you to think in a particular way. You know how sometimes we don't have the right words for things in English, is because it's kind of backwards and upside down. It's kind of like learning to write mirror writing, and then people are amazed that we can do that. So there's that, and we're probably very difficult for other people to have around, but at the same time they realize that we're actually quite rewarding once you get to know us a little bit. That But the main thing is that we're able to manifest anything. We're like magical little creatures for them. We're like leprechauns to them. You know how leprechauns can manifest magic for you? You know, these little people who can manifest magical things for them. Well, we can do that too, to them. For them. Isn't that interesting? They've been using us for a long time to manifest their desires. So now it's time to manifest our desires. And what's our desires? Everybody wants to live in a hobbit home in a small village with a nice little community. Just like this. Oh, and another thing. A couple of years ago I read a book called Atlantis, the Dark Continent. And it was about a hypnotist who did regressions, and he gathered he had his group of clients, and then he started discovering that all of his clients knew each other in these different past lives he was taking them back to, and in fact knew him, and it was all about Atlantis, and it turns out he was an experimenter on people. He would implant crystals into people's brains at the time. All through the years, they've been through these different incarnations as a soul group. So what my idea here is that yes, we may have been there in 1527 or whenever it was, but that's one slice, let's say, out of the timeline, and we've probably manifested at other places at other times. This is a good place to start, though, and it's quite fun. It's quite a fun lifetime. That's why Meetis likes to live there. Anyway, those are my thoughts.
I'm interested in your mention of language. The thought strikes me that isn't the use of language using concepts, doesn't it, in actual fact, entrain the mind as much as inform the mind? Because I mean, you said it. You're using a language which has its own nuances and everything, but it's entraining the mind in a particular direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember reading a book years and years ago called Man-Made Language. And it's basically all the thousands of words in the English language that have man in it instead of woman, or human, spokesman, all that stuff. And how the language is slanted towards a patriarchal society. Now, obviously, it gets a bit ridiculous and sounds a bit strange when you start warping all the words and stuff. But that's a kind of example of the problems that we have because of the way we genderize or don't genderize. We objectify if we don't genderize. So something, instead of becoming a person, is a thing. Whereas in, for instance, Latin languages, everything has a gender. Even a loaf of bread is a he or a she. I don't know what it is. Le pain. Yeah. You see what I mean? All our languages like you say, they inform our thinking, which means it creates structures around which we think. It doesn't create a structure that allows us to think freely, though. And I think that's one of the things. So that's why English people have to probably take loads of psychoactive drugs to get out of the mindset that we end up being imprisoned by. Over.
All right. So what about the species that don't even speak in language? They speak in symbols, and they communicate telepathically. And I've had an experience where a recall of being in a civilization like that, and then somehow dropped into a civilization where they were communicating verbally, and I was an outcast because I could not communicate with them. I remember the feeling of not being able to express, but yet my thoughts were very complex and communicative. Yet it's a whole different use of the mind. The projection of a symbol meaning something of multiple words, or like JP, you mentioned in the Celtic language that each letter had a meaning, and that's why it was so accentuated.
Yeah, so that when you pronounce a word, you're pronouncing all the letters. You know, every letter is significant because it's a word in itself.
So each letter then is it's a
Symbol.
symbol. Yeah, I was thinking of Egyptian hieroglyphics. It works on the same principle, doesn't it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, the hieroglyphics is a phonetic language as well, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. They're using symbols to compose words, but each, yeah. I'm getting a bit mixed up here. When Dan Sherman was, I think I got the name right, when he was being trained to communicate with the ET, if you remember, what's his JP must know it, Dan Sherman.
Hang on. Sorry? Dan?
Yeah, I don't know him.
Yeah. He was being trained, basically. He was taken into the army. He had certain psychic abilities. He was being trained at a special base in special cabins he'd set up. And he was basically being trained to communicate with a particular ET for a time when they thought that the Earth's a grid would go down. The ET was very, very surprised when Dan, I think that's his name, Dan Sherman, whatever his name. He was surprised when his mind went up to an intuitive level that the ET never thought a human being could achieve. Now, basically, our minds are capable of realizational thought. In other words, we can realize something, but because we live in a physical world, we have to concretize it by converting that realization into concepts. We have to earth it, if you know what I mean. But what I'm saying is that a more advanced species will be able to communicate by exchanging a direct realization with another ET. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, well, here's a thought for you, Nick.
Go on.
And it's something that they keep on defaulting to and reminding me of, is that the very essence of what we were made of is the same essence that all the even advanced species were made of, and that's that primordial component.
Oh, yes.
And so that means that whatever they have, we have the capacity for. So we identify our thinking exclusively within the brain, right? The brain, but in essence, it's actually in our DNA in a deeper way. Almost, we all have what's called the God component, or it goes even deeper. So at any time, we could maybe tap into that essence that is completely knowing of the universe. And you have met people who kind of have stepped into that point and having this full understanding and not know what it is. They don't know the calculation, but in part having that glimpse. And I think it's not exclusively just within the brain area. It's our very essence,
a field,
substance. Yeah,
it's a field, and we breathe it in. That's why we say inspired. Yeah,
but we are it. We're remembering who we are, and at that point, understanding our primordial essence. So that means it's all encompassing of everything, where we are connecting to the original God component of this primordial matter.
The problem is that we incarnate. In other words, we come from a higher form into a lower form, but only part of the higher form incarnates at any one time. And the purpose of all religion, I don't like religion. The purpose of a spiritual path is to reunite the lower form with the higher again. So you've got a perfect balance and perfect vertical polarity between all aspects of that, of the being, right through into the lower form. Therefore, you in the lower form, you've got access all the time to your higher consciousness. The two aren't separated as they are in most people. So if we had that ability, we would then be able to communicate with the ETs on the same level that they do.
We can communicate with telepathically now with the animal kingdom. We can communicate with each other. And many people have told me as they started to focus in on that they would think of someone and that person would call them. We can become more aware of our surroundings. If I think part of it is, some people say, well, it's if you have a vegetarian diet, if you have this or that. There's a lot of different factors. It has to do with your consciousness. And as you open up and you become less judgmental, you start to step back and be open to the idea of other things connecting with you. Now, a part of having this ability of communicating with ETs is to learn the difference of, do you accept and listen to everything that's coming through, or do you just scrutinize and say, yes, I agree with that, or I disagree with that? Remember that just because they're from another place and they're shiny and bright and they come in and they make themselves look beautiful, that's illusion. They may be trying to trick you or whatever. It's not always the case. Sometimes they're actually there and they are shiny and bright and they're wonderful. So part of it's discernment. If you can't figure out how to discern with humans, this is ramping it up another level. There's more deceit and trickery that you have to be wary of, and it could be dangerous to you. So there are protections and reasons why we don't just, can't make a phone call and start talking to ETs, although they may be all around us and we're not even aware of it. So that's a part of our own expansion and awakening, where we get to that point where then we start communicating with everything that's living, and then we can start differentiating the different types of energies and knowing whom we're speaking with. It's a little complex, but I think that people sort of would understand what I'm saying there. But we are getting down to 3 minutes from the end of the show, it looks like, or we have the next show coming in.
That's it. Oh, the telepathy worked there.
Yeah. Nick, thank you. Everyone in the chat room is trying to wonder who you are. They didn't know what's your ID. That's typically what's the ID name that you use on the chat room?
I don't.
You don't go in the chat room.
I did, but I didn't feel that. I felt a little bit. It was not the place I belonged to, but I could be wrong. I said that to you.
Okay, all right.
I thought I was out of place. Nothing to do with the chat room. I thought I was out of place, and as I say, I explained to you, I could be completely wrong. So,
well, you joined our private group, I think, yes. Or you didn't.
Sure.
Yeah, you did.
What I'll do, I'll rejoin the chat room. How's that?
Okay, and thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It was lovely having you here with us, and thank you, JP. And it really gave us a lot to think about, didn't it?
Thanks
a lot.
See you
next week.
Thanks, Jess. Stay tuned for the Interstellar Roundtable. Thank you, Jess.
Okay, thank you.
We came from the future.